I never thought I'd review a worse Glen Powell film than Hitman, but then came Running Man 2025.
Hell, maybe it'll be good.
Oh, my sweet summer child.
But just before we get into it, for those many people subscribed to this channel,
there are dozens of us. Dozens!
Apologies, I've been away for a while due to both personal and work-related reasons, but I'm back now with a few videos in the pipeline and I'm ready to dive back into all things terrible in Hollywood. Running Man 2025 is an attempt by writer-director Edgar Wright of Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead fame to produce a more faithful adaptation of Stephen King's book than the 1987 Arnie cult classic was able to manage.
You still have to world build in a way because not everybody's familiar with the book. And I know the 87 film is more of a looser adaptation of Bachman's novella, I guess we could call it. But how do you kind of balance that line with moving the story forward with building the world so that people understand it? I felt like there was a lot of kind of show and not tell, like there weren't big exposition dumps or anything like that.
Is Miss Trunchbull out of her mind? No big exposition dumps. That was the entire first 10 minutes of the film. The opening dialogue is some of the most expositional of exposition that ever expositioned. It's 10 minutes of non-stop on-the-nose script reading. I mean, really? Glen Powell and a stripper wife might as well have stared straight into the camera while holding their script notes and read out exactly what they were meant to be feeling.
Molly said he would have real farms, real flu meds.
Yeah, well, a little black market buddy has all the stuff to kill people, but is sold out of the things to save them. They don't want us to win.
I'm sorry, I tried.
Hey, you're just being punished for being a good man. You were just standing up for your guys.
It just didn't seem right, you know? I got to be a dad and they didn't.
Ben, none of this is your fault.
Maybe we can swim for it.
No, I can't swim.
You can't swim?
No, I can't, okay, Wonder Woman, I can't swim. I always thought there was going to be plenty of time. I wish I didn't know about any of this, and tomorrow it would just be over. Oh God, I really wanted to learn how to swim.
The writing in some parts of this film genuinely borders on laughable, but not in the way Edgar Wright intends. We hear, "You're a smart man, Ben," over and over again, but we never see any actual evidence that this is true. He bungles his way throughout the entire film, never really winning any battle. Every time he survives, it's simply due to
sheer dumb luck.
He never gets the chance to showcase his supposed intelligence. He never outwits the enemy, never outskills them, never uses his totally authentic anger, a topic to which we'll return shortly, to fuel himself to overcome his challenges against all odds. Nope. Just luck. Every single time. What reason is there to root for someone like that? We as the audience never have any reason to worry because his plot armor is so thick that he's basically the Marvel character Domino.
I'm lucky.
That's not a superpower.
Yeah, it is.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, it is.
No, it isn't.
But I suppose we should probably talk about the plot before we get any further into criticism. In short, the plot is largely the same as the book and similar to the 1987 version. And for those who haven't encountered either of these, the slightly longer version is that Ben Richards lives with his stripper wife and sick baby in the dystopian year of our Lord, 2025. Although this isn't actually stated in the film, it is the year chosen by King in the book. Thankfully, real life could never be so oppressive. Anyway, in the gentler dystopia of the Running Man universe, Ben is a working class fella who's down on his luck. He's a hard worker, we're told, and he's good at what he does, we're also told. But unfortunately for his sick daughter who needs medicine, Ben can't keep his mouth shut long enough to keep a job for more than 5 minutes. Anytime he encounters corruption in the company he works for, he blows the whistle. Now this is an admirable trait to be sure, but Ben apparently has no guile or tact in his whistleblowing activities, and instead just straight up confronts management about their misdeeds, meaning that he bounces from job to job and is never really capable of providing for his family. He then gets the bright idea to try out for a game show to win some money, before being coaxed into taking part in the deadliest show on TV, The Running Man. Ben must survive being hunted by trained killers, as well as basically all of America, as every citizen wants to capture and turn in Ben for the reward money. He must accomplish what no other man has in the history of the game and survive for 30 days, and the longer he lasts, the more money is provided to his family. Now, this premise is genuinely excellent, but just like another Glen Powell film with an excellent premise, Running Man 2025 likewise fails in its execution. First off, Glen Powell is horribly miscast as Ben Richards, and I like Glen Powell. He's a decent actor with somewhat of a goofy charm, but he's not the kind of leading man befitting this kind of action role. This is no word of a lie, but for the first half an hour watching Powell trying to play this angry, down on his luck, disenfranchised working man, all I could think is, I don't think Glenn Powell has ever experienced the emotion of anger once in his entire life.
Technology.
Abuse.
Freedom.
No.
Authority.
Burn.
Anarchy.
When.
Justice.
Hilarious.
What do you see?
Cutest puppy ever.
Mr. Richards, you are quantifiably the angriest man to ever audition for our shows.
Well, that really pisses me off.
Ooh, I am steaming, boy. Ooh.
The role required him to possess a quiet rage which occasionally bubbled into explosive fury, but absolutely none of what he was trying to convey was remotely believable or relatable. It was actually outright cringeworthy in parts. The best part of his performance were the segments where he was able to dust off his old hitman routine, putting on disguises and feigning accents, and just having more fun with the role than he was permitted when he's trying to act stoically enraged. This isn't helped by the fact that the Ben Richards character seems to be written using classic horror tropes. He's useless in every scenario apart from in the finale. He's supposedly super smart, remember, we've been told, but doesn't realise that the one true goal of this massive media conglomeration which airs shows to the entire population is ratings. He only gets this epiphany 1 hour 30 minutes into a 2-hour film, by the way, despite being 40 years old and The Running Man being the most popular show on TV. And to put the top hat on it, he makes all of the classic horror character decisions like dropping a weapon after only using it once. These problems are compounded by the fact that Powell's by himself for almost the entire runtime, which by the way is an excessive 2 hours 13 minutes. And in that time, rarely does he have anyone to interact with or bounce off. And when it does happen, it's flat. As I've said before, I like Powell, he's charming and he has a presence on screen, but this role is simply not for him. Similarly, another actor I like is Michael Cera. He gives one of the best comedic performances in a stacked comic cast in one of the best sitcoms ever made, in my opinion. The first 3 seasons, at least.
Hey, what you doing?
Nothing.
No? So, listen, your Uncle Job seems to think that he saw you down at the docks today. Was that you?
No. Maybe it was the other George Michael, you know, the singer-songwriter?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But this film's so bad that when these two likeable actors are put together on screen, it's like putting pan-seared chicken and maple cured bacon into a wrap made of shit. It leaves a bit of a sour taste. It doesn't help that in his short time on screen, Cera's doing his best impression of Hassan Piker, which makes his character a little less than likeable.
America deserved 9/11, dude. Fuck it, I'm saying it.
And these pro-communist, pro-Marxist views are sprinkled throughout the film, with the baddies somewhat dressed up like Austrian painter supporters, while Ben by the end looks more like your average Antifa bellend.
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
The film is also genre-bending, but not in a good way. Whereas the 1987 film was an over-the-top, goofy take on King's original novel, which is why King always hated the film, at least it knew what it was. It had skin-tight suits for both the male and female protagonists to give the audience a bit of eye candy, classic 80s cheese from Arnie.
Hey, Killian! Here is Sub-Zero! Now, Plane Zero!
And antagonists that were as zany and cartoonish as the dialogue. But in this version, Edgar Wright seemed to have absolutely no idea which direction he wanted to go with the film. Many of Wright's fans will attest to his seamless blending of comedy and drama, although, fair warning, not me. It might be a hot take, but I've never really enjoyed his films all that much. But even his biggest fans surely have to admit that whatever Edgar Wright was trying to do with Running Man, he did not succeed. Speaking of the 1987 original, let's compare some of the key elements from each film. Let's start with this movie's Amelia Williams, who is the parallel to the original's Amber Mendez character. In contrast to Mendez, who's in most of the original, Williams is only in this film for about 10 minutes of screen time, And in this time, Edgar Wright does his best to cram in a full character arc.
Wait, stay tuned. What's happening, okay? Go! Take it off autopilot! Drive! Whoa!
Car is damaged. Your car is damaged.
Jesus! Go ahead. Say what you gotta say.
Why? So you can go crazy and kill me? No.
You have 1 minute to speak freely.
How'd you live with yourself? Hmm? You dare sit there and criticize my driving? Tell me how to operate my own car? I am a member of society! You disgust me. You abandoned that starving baby, that horrible wife of yours, so you can what? Kill people for money? And you only kill the best people! The people who protect us from wealth like you! And that's not a word I use!
A few moments later.
Last chance to run.
No. You made me feel like I'm the bad guy. Now I have to prove I'm not.
Why do you give a shit what I think?
You're not the one I'm trying to prove it to. So what's our plan?
Here's what happens when they all try to get through the door at once.
But guess what? Organically transforming a snooty rich princess who's blinded by entitlement to the point that she's completely blind to the reality of her world into a grounded realist who now sees the media's propaganda for what it is. Well, that costs a little more time and effort than this film was willing to spend. And don't get me wrong, the original film didn't do a great job of this either, but it was still achieved with more tact, subtlety and believability than the razor-wired sledgehammer that is the 2025 version. It was as though they had another cut of the film where she played a much bigger role than we got to see, but in the end, Edgar Wright thought this virtual cameo was enough for a fully fleshed out character with her own arc. Bizarre. While we're on the subject of characters, let's turn our focus to the villains. In the original, the baddies fit with the theme of the film, and with the TV show inside the film's universe. Over-the-top, cartoonish monsters who resemble video game villains with their own unique looks and special abilities. But in the 2025 version, the villains are just bland. They're generic military douchebags with zero personality or distinction. I mean, they're quite literally impossible to tell apart. They're the movie equivalent of NPCs. Finally, let's talk about the theme of the proletariat uprising, when the people of America realise that they've been lied to this whole time, and revolt. In the original, the audience was clearly made up of the upper classes, which makes sense given the nature of the society depicted. Once Arnie and his band of rebels hacked the network and exposed the studio's lies, and the TV show's guards start firing their guns inside the studio without care for the audience's safety, the audience quite understandably realise that they've been conned and immediately turn on Killian and the propagandists at large before running for safety. Again, this isn't executed perfectly by any means, but in comparison to the 2025 version, it's a masterpiece. In the new version, it isn't even clear who the audience members are, because they look like a mix of working class and upper class, which doesn't ever really happen, and definitely doesn't make sense in this universe, let alone why they turn on Killian, and that's just the audience in the studio. What caused the rest of the people of America to rise up? What was the driving force? In the original it's clear, but here it just sort of happens. Granted, I might have missed it because at one point I was genuinely just staring at the shadows on the wall of the cinema being made by the action on screen, and I wish I was joking. But from what I could gather, at least when I was paying attention, there was absolutely no reason for the average man in the street to start trusting and supporting Ben Richards, since the studio was always in control of the network broadcast and always made him look like a deadbeat criminal. Anyway, that's probably more than enough ranting for this bore of a film. Let's get to the ratings. First, the plot. As ever with remakes, reboots, or adaptations from source material, the premise is an interesting one, and so by conception the plot is great, but in execution it's simply not good enough. 4.5 out of 10. Similarly, the world building leaves a lot to be desired, with the only informative and compelling scene occurring in the first 15 minutes, and consisting of a brief montage of pals strolling through the upper class district containing the TV studio. It had the benefit of requiring no dialogue or acting, but this alone doesn't constitute world building. 2.5 out of 10. Speaking of dialogue, it's shite. It's so expositional and awkward that I don't feel I need to say any more than that. 1.5 out of 10. Next, characters. There were none. 1 out of 10. In terms of acting, Glenn Powell was horribly miscast as Ben Richards, and since he was basically the only so-called character on screen throughout the film, this was a major issue. I did enjoy the limited screen time that Josh Brolin and Lee Pace had, but it's simply not enough. 2 out of 10. The direction was poor. Most scenes went on for too long with too little happening, with each scene offering no new compelling information or entertainment. There was absolutely no need for this film to be over 2 hours. 2 out of 10. Finally, for the genre-specific elements of the rating, neither the sci-fi nor the adventure elements offered anything we haven't already seen a million times over. This was just done worse. 2 out of 10. Overall, Running Man 2025 is awful and ends with an overall score of 2.21, which I honestly feel is still too high. If you like this video in any way, shape or form, please feel free to like, subscribe, comment and all that good stuff. See you in the next video. Ta-ra.